for this presentation, actually, I found a little bit of a different take on how we are tackling the topics of climate change, because I'm focusing, actually, this is what I do as my main job. I focus on what the investors want from us. Yeah, so I've had actually a couple of conversations already with some of you, and I just heard, oh, I love my investors. They're so great. I really love contributing to, what they want, and they give me great feedback. And I would love to say that as well, and partially that is also true. But it is also hard work to get the ESG storyline on the way. And if you then imagine, if you were an investor, what would you think of companies? How do you evaluate the companies? Basically, what investors do is they sit in their office or in their home office, wherever in the world, and they look at numbers every day, right? So they are doing evaluation of companies every day in, day out, and they want this to be as easy as possible. So main task number one to build an ESG strategy for investors is to make it easily accessible. There is new methodologies how to do this. There is different takes on machine readability. There's websites that you can use. There is obviously also people like me who talk to investors. And I would like to give you a bit of a glimpse on how we do that at Bayer. And maybe at the roundtable, we can also talk a bit more about what we are doing in the climate area. It's actually not that different from what we have heard today. So science-based target, etc. This is also how we are approaching it. So let me start with step number one. First of all, where do you find the impact that your company can actually contribute most to? There is different key competencies that you have. You have your core. What are you actually contributing to? Bayer is contributing to health and nutrition. So the health part is the pharmaceutical and the over-the-counter consumer health part. And then we have agriculture, which is the nutrition part. So basically, at the core of what is happening right now in the world as well, right? So I think in Europe, we're not really having a food crisis. Yeah, we've had a couple of products that weren't available in the supermarkets, but very far away from an actual crisis. But if you look over to other countries, there's really something going on, and there's really a different movement going on. So how do you make sure that you have sufficient nutrition and food for everyone in the world? And how do you make sure that you can increase the life quality of the people in the world on a similar base? And this is where we actually found our anchor point. And this is basically, some of you might have read some of it already. This is basically our ESG or sustainability strategy. We actually, I use this word, but it's actually not a sustainability strategy. It is our business strategy that is sustainable. Yeah, so it's a bit of a different thinking how you frame it, because you don't want them to be separated. You want to have an inclusive business strategy that is sustainable. If you have a sustainability strategy on the side, it will never be incorporated in everything that you do. So let me start with the left part, my right part. I have mentioned that we are in nutrition, right? We are working with farmers. We want to work more with smallholder farmers. I've heard already, or I've talked to a couple of you who actually tackled that from a different perspective, maybe also on a different scale. All of it is absolutely necessary. Yeah, we need to empower the communities, and we need to empower smallholder farmers to have more access to more sustainable ways of farming. And that can be maybe 1 hectare, it can be hundreds of hectares. It is still important. And with the smallholder farmers, it's up to 10 hectares. Usually, it is very different from what you have at a very industrial, very modern kind of agricultural way. So also, we need to adapt the strategy around that. We also want to access 100 million people in underserved communities, so with vitamins, with micronutrients. People sometimes don't get to the level of nutrition or nutrients that they need during the day, especially in low and middle income countries. So this is what we are trying to tackle with that target. We also want to reach 100 million women with contraceptive products, with modern contraception, which is empowering communities, right? If women can choose when they want to start a family or if they want to start a family, it's a whole different ballgame. There's loads of studies around it, and you can actually already see that in the cultural realm that we are in, where these products are a given, right? Where women can freely choose if they want to use contraception or not. It is a different game that we're playing in that in the GDP as well. And also we are working on making our product more affordable, goes without saying, right? We need to work on our margin. We have our 9 blockbuster products already in those markets as on the GDP level, whatever, you know, the GDP actually dictates, we are amending our prices in that direction as well. And then for the environmental part, which is the green part of the triangle, there you can see all of the topics that we've talked about today. We can see climate neutrality, science-based targets, scope 1, 2, and 3. What is maybe different a little bit in our climate journey is that we are also trying to tackle it on the field. Yeah, so we try to reduce 30% of greenhouse gas emission on the field, which means that you know, carbon sequestration in the soil is super important. The moment that you actually use, I don't know, your hand and break up the soil, this is the moment where CO2 is already emitted into the environment. Yeah, it's as easy as that. So the less you actually have to work through the soil, the better it is for the climate emission reduction. CO2 emission reduction. And also we are working on reducing environmental impact by 30% of all of our, I'm just like, the German word comes to mind, but the English word is crop protection, thank you. So crop protection is everything that you put on the plant to protect the plant from external aggressiveness and to let the plant grow according to what you want it to be. And also we have a circularity target, 100% recyclable packaging of all our over-the-counter products. So now the question is, where is the impact? Can anybody tell me which one is the target that actually is an impact target on this slide? So how do I define that? What is impact? I think actually, you know, we see this and we hear, okay, wow, this is great impact, and we really want to bring this forward. But what impact actually means is you also need to make it measurable. So all of the 100 million access targets is great because you can reach more people. But how do you measure it? You measure it according to the GDP of a country. For example, with the 100 million women and the contraceptive targets. So we reach 100 million women by 2030, but what impact does that actually have to the environment where the people are working, where people are contributing to their communities, etc. So we cannot measure that. So now, actually, this is the question that we get asked by our investors. So what, Paola? You tell me, you have all of these great targets. Where is the impact? And the impact that investors actually see is with the environmental impact reduction target, which is not one of our most prominent targets, but it is the one that investors actually see the biggest lever in, because the reduction of CO2 emission is now already seen as a given. And our emissions actually overall are not the biggest one in the world, also not the biggest one in the industry. So where can we actually make the biggest impact? For example, we can make it here. So this is something that you need to understand. Where do your investors actually see your impact when they're trying to evaluate your sustainability journey? They are looking for something that only you can do and no one of the other companies can do, or maybe a couple. Yeah, so just to give you a bit of food for thought, because that was also a big learning for us. So I've been working as an internal auditor for about 5 years, so I love me some governance. Yeah, so we already talked about environment, we talked about social targets, but now I would like to give you just a short glimpse into what we're doing in terms of governance. big pillars you can see here. Lots of things are happening. I think Bayer is a very governance-focused company as well. So there's lots of different councils. There's lots of different entities that, try to measure and try to execute governance. These are the ones that we have reduced it to for our sustainability journey. So organizational setup is our CEO is also our CSO, our Chief Sustainability Officer. Everything is included from the access target to the climate targets into ESG-based compensation. We've already heard this, that this is an important factor. I was glad that we were adhering to it. So, and also we have a sustainability decision committee, which then, discuss it on a global base. Which decisions do we need to take into all of the divisions up to an operational level? So really cascade it down. They meet every 6 weeks, and to get all of the business leaders in the world to meet every 6 weeks at one specific point in time actually is quite challenging, as you can imagine. But this is important, and they make it work. Then we have regulations, policies. We try to include all of the sustainability topics into the policies of the specific processes, from procurement, obviously, to supply chain, to R&D, to M&A, research and development, and mergers and acquisition, M&A, as we say. And obviously, we also have very extensive transparency initiatives. I'm going to show you one more slide related to that. And reporting. Our sustainability report is now 126 pages long, very tiny font if you want to download it. There's loads of information in there, basically also machine readable, as we learned already in the beginning. There's more of the requirements coming in. So that is already an issue or a challenge for us. The new reporting directives will really make it even more necessary that we have all of the numbers ready and that we are ready to have it reported in a sustainability report transparently once a year. And then we have the oversight with a couple of boards and councils and committees. And of course, everything that we do in the sustainability report is externally audited with limited assurance. And also we have the stakeholder dialogue, for example, with the investors. And maybe, as a last slide, because I'm also running out of time, we can still discuss this if you're interested at the roundtable. Third step is then, how do you make this all transparent? And what does transparency actually mean? Is it transparent already if I put it on my website, or is it transparent when I communicate it, or what does transparency mean? Transparency to us means it is the incubator of, so we are working on giving as much information to the outside as possible for everybody to have the chance to make an informed decision, if they are investing into Bayer or if they're not, but also, for the broader audience, even if you're not an investor. Rating agencies, obviously a very important stakeholder. MSCI is one of the big ones, Sustainalytics, obviously. And we were quite successful as well with MSCI. We actually had a red flag until June of this year. There's only 12 companies in the world that have red flags. So you can see how picky they are with actually giving red flags away. We were working on for many years with MSCI. We were trying to convince them. We were giving them more information. But I think what actually then made the difference was that we were issuing a couple of reports with our internal experts. And we did webcasts, we did webinars. We actually also engaged with different investors who then got back to MSCI. And they were discussing, is that red flag actually really something that needs to be with Bayer? And with that transparency initiative that we are still driving forward, we were also able to improve the rating from B to AA with MSCI. So that is 2 steps. And I don't think that anybody in our organization would have thought that would happen. But we're very happy that it happened. And this is obviously also something that makes it easier for investors to invest in our company. And with that, I would like to close the presentation, and I'm looking forward to your questions later on.